Hello, everybody. Uh, it's Tuesday night, late Tuesday night on the West Coast, and it is 12:56 in the morning on the East Coast. And chances are you're going to be somewhere in between these points, or maybe you are watching this from Moscow, in which case you're several hours ahead, or if you are in the UK, you're 8 hours ahead. Yeah, 8 hours ahead, and actually 5 hours ahead of us. 8 hours ahead if I were in Oakland, which I am not. Anyway, welcome to Zenny 62 for what promises to be an interesting time. I'm on late again for helping my mom, stuff I've talked about before. But you know what? I'm hungry. So hold on a second while you guys are coming in here. I am hungry. So oh yes. Graham crackers. Hey, a late night craving, right? So what we got going here? First of all, Khalil Mack of the Raiders is holding out. This is his second day not reporting to Raiders minicamp. You would say, why is that? And the response is because he wants more money. According to Steve Weish of the NFL Network, who's a Mitch, by the way, great guy. Khalil Mack wants $65 million or more. That's right, $65 million or more. Is he worth it? I happen to think he's worth every penny. Now, the question is, will the Raiders pay every penny? That's the question, and I don't know the answer to that. But Khalil Mack has got to be thinking somewhere back there in his brain, if they can pay John Gruden, $100 million, right? Well, it's not really $100 million almost straight away, but $10 million a year. Certainly they can cough up something for him at $65 million. I mean, are you going to tell me that the unproven John Gruden is worth more than the proven Khalil Mack? That's the issue. It's shocking that Mack would hold out, but he did. And this is something the Raiders should have really buttoned up some time ago, but they didn't. Okay. They took their time about it. The Raiders didn't, in the case of Derek Carr, waste any time in getting him a very healthy contract. But in the case of Khalil Mack, who arguably, and they're both friends to each other, is worth every bit as much as Derek Carr, they haven't treated him like that, you know? Here's a man, Khalil Mack, who had, 5 sacks against the Broncos? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 sacks in a game, 2 off the record. And if you're keeping score, Adrian Claiborne, who was with the Falcons, had 6 in one game. But could you imagine Adrian Claiborne and Khalil Mack on the same team? We talk about defensive sack fest. Ooh boy. Assuming, of course, they played the right defense, you know? You can't just stick anybody in any defense and expect them to excel. That's just not how it works at all. That's just not how it works. Straight away. I gotta believe with the stadium and all, the Raiders are being stretched thin. And they've got themselves too exposed in too many different areas with respect to the stadium to come out looking good on this. John Marks, how are you, sir? John Marks, here's a question. Is Khalil Mack worth $65 million? And by the way, I have two questions. Actually three questions. Is John Marks worth John? I was going to ask John Marks if John Marks was worth $65 million. So I'll ask John Marks, are you worth $65 million? John Marks says he is, but the Raiders will never pay. Ooh. Tell you what. I'll tell you what. John Marks says he is worth $65 million, but I'll tell you what. If the Raiders let Khalil Mack get away by trade, that will be the biggest disaster in Raiders 21st century history, aside from the relocation. Okay, that would be just boneheaded. The Raiders allowing Khalil Mack to get away be a sure signal that something is wrong. To which John Marks says, "Oh, they will let him get away, Zenny. Trust me." Why do you say, John Marks? I'm just curious. Why do you say it? I say that the Raiders be all opened up to, first of all, I think some claims of racism. Now you would say, "Oh, Zenny," but hear me out, okay? Because the point would be, hey, look, you gave up all this money for that white quarterback, but you had this black defensive end that got 5 sacks for you, 4 sacks for you, anchored your defense when no one else did, and you let him go. Wow. Well, John Marks believes that because the Raiders abandoned us in Oakland, he believes it's going to translate to how the Raiders treat Khalil Mack. And I don't see that connection. Khalil Mack is worth every penny. See, here's why I see the connection between Las Vegas and here in Oakland. I think that the Raiders are overexposed financially with respect to the stadium, and it's going to impact their player development budget and their player payment budget. Okay. Now, those of you who say, well, the Raiders are going to sell all these luxury boxes, you don't know that. You don't know that at all in Vegas. Because the one thing that Oakland has that Las Vegas doesn't have is a healthy community of people who have a ton of money, who are in tech, who can just buy up luxury boxes by the yin-yang. Because I'm telling you, I'll tell you something. If the Raiders had committed themselves to a stadium in Oakland, they would have had a naming rights agreement by now. Whoa. And the stadium would have been cheaper because it was open air, right? Instead of it coming in like $2 billion north, right? It would have been only $1.4 billion. But no, the Raiders have to pay relocation fees. They've got to get involved in all this mess. They've got to get involved in this parking expenditure. The Raiders have about a good $1 billion worth of expenditures. Well, let's be fair. About $500 million worth of expenditures involved in Vegas that they would never see in Oakland. Okay. To which John Mark says, the Raiders are so stupid. Now, so far, Mark Davis has proven to be crazy like a fox. I mean, let's face it, he pulled off this deal. He got this far. Tomorrow, Wednesday, well, today, the bonds go on sale, right? How he'll do? Good question. Let me take a look at what the interest rate is for the bond as I speak. It will be, let's see, muni bond rates. Now, how can you buy bonds? You want to buy those bonds? Wow. I would wait and see how they do before I buy them. Let me tell you what the yield is going to be. The as of right now, still at 3.20. It hasn't kicked up. Then it hasn't went down either. At first, I thought we were going to see like 3.25, but so it's a 3.20. So, oh, something else too. Almost forgot. Let's check and see if those new Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority numbers have come in yet. Let's check that out. Visitor statistics. And we do not have, nope, we don't have it yet. We have February still. I'm looking for March. We'll have February 2018 executive summary, and that's it. And of course, in February 2018 had fewer visitors than February 2017, right? That's the way that went. John Mark says, Lonely on Top says, the Mack truck definitely deserves it. He does, referring to Khalil Mack, who, by the way, had a deal with Mack Truck last year, right? Lonely on Top has him lined up to get bags of money. Bags of money. I like that. Bags of money. John Gruden said he wanted to pair Khalil Mack with a great interior pass rusher, which is why everyone thought, Nadam Sue, right? Didn't happen. Malcontent says, what did Mark Bedane say? Roughly 1,100 customers visited the season ticket center in Las Vegas. Not terribly impressive. You think it's not? Not only that, it's one thing to visit the center. The question is, and what Mark Bedane didn't say was how many of them actually purchased anything. Ooh, okay. And, oh, John Marks is going to join the ranks of those who have YouTube channels. Myself, Go CSU, who's now Bible. He has a new handle related to the Bible. And others, welcome. Well, look forward to it, John. Let me know how I can help. Now, here's the other big news. John Mark says 1,100 customers got screwed badly. Well, they got to stay at the Bellagio. Here's the thing. The Oakland Raiders have still not answered the Coliseum JPA's offer. You know, that high rent offer, like $5-6 million. as of 2 hours ago, yeah, Coliseum JPA has heard nothing from the Raiders. John Mark says, I hope the Raiders never answer. See, when the Raiders are in this what I call quiet period, it means they're doing something someplace else. The Raiders are always up to something. Mark it. The Raiders are always up to something. Now, Albert 106 says, so the council will decide on April 17th if they want to join the lawsuit. So we have an agenda date next week. I hope they do too. I think, but we'll see. I know that they have an outstanding case. I know that. I would like to be there, but I can't. I need to be here for Mom, who's on the mend, but my responsibility is here. Now, to get somebody to cover it. Malcolmton says, I'm always more suspicious of the Raiders when they are talking. See, I'm more suspicious of the Raiders when they're not talking, and that's from experience, all right? John Marks, you're right. Family comes first. And the reason why I'm more suspicious of the Raiders when the Raiders are not talking was the Raiders told us, both Bedane and Davis, hey, you know what? This is after they lost the vote to LA. Told the JPA, let's just chill and we'll resume talks in March. And they were not happy with they viewed was a hike in rent at the time. They said, well, we're not going to do this. So, which is kind of ridiculous. You know, they put that out there as an excuse, right? But we now know it was a smokescreen. We could have bent over backward for them. It wouldn't have made any difference. They were focused on Las Vegas. So basically, they just told a pack of tales. They weren't upset about the rent. In other words, you can do anything, but if you do one slight little thing that they don't like, because they're not focused on doing anything that you want, all of a sudden, oh, you're bad, when they were planning to move anyway. All right? Malcolmton says, like I said, when they're talking, they're lying. John Marks says, the Raiders ride, you never really tried. Sound familiar? A's fans? Not a good situation. I think the A's are putting forth greater effort. I just hope that we don't screw it up, okay? Now, Lou Wolf is not involved. It's Dave Cavall. Lou Wolf was an okay guy, but I never got the little warm and fuzzies from Lou Wolf. Lou Wolf wanted the A's in San Jose. He didn't want the A's in Oakland. Dave Cavall is different. Dave Cavall is committed to Oakland. I'm convinced of that. But I've seen enough of the other play. I've seen enough of the person that fakes like they want to be in Oakland when they really want to be in someplace else, right? Oh, these are almost gone. John Mark says Mark Davis is the new Lou Wolf. Nah, I wouldn't say that. I would say Mark Davis is the new Mark Davis. I can't compare them. Because the difference between Mark Davis and Lou Wolf is that Lou Wolf did something that was actually outside NFL rules. NBA, in a Major League Baseball rules. He tried to. He tried to challenge the Major League Baseball Constitution, and he failed. He tried to challenge the court, and he failed. Mark Davis did something that was engineered by the NFL, all right? Um, they got John Mark says, can you say Mark Davis is acting like President Trump? Not entirely. I don't. I think there are some similarities in terms of the divide and conquer thing, where he's dividing the fans to conquer, right? That's out there, definitely. John Marks thinks so, but and only on top says it's clear to see. But yeah, Mark John, dividing the fan base. You ever see that famous video? Actually, it was audio between Godfather Greg Jones, aka Godfather Bruce, who had a rather terse conversation with Dave Mark. This was at training camp 2 years ago, and yeah, and there was another instance that someone pointed out to me. I think Dr. Death said he was trying to get it on video. This was a way back. I didn't chase it down, but John Mark says, "Oh, I know all about that incident." Oh, what do you know? Tell us, John. Tell us. There should be no, excuse me, there should be no incidents, but there are. And then, what could divide the fan base more than a ticket price structure that they can't afford, okay? I mean, seriously. Pride and purposes, Al Davis was football. Mark Davis never was and never will be. Now, we have to give Davis credit for one thing. Well, two things. Three things. First of all, he did create the Raider image stores, okay? Second, he has worked to field a competitive team. Third, he has worked to and has done this increase the value of the franchise. All right? John Mark says, I know the Godfather Grizz talked to Mark and said that he knows the value of fan base and he doesn't care. Right. Yeah, he said, I'm good with that. He did say that. Mark Davis did say openly, I'm good with that. He doesn't care. And he's acted like that straight up. Thomas Sanders says, Davis tried to shake Grizz's hand and Jones refused to. Actually, Thomas, I don't know where you're getting that from. Now, if we're talking about Arizona, I was there. Okay. And it's in my video, I was there. We talked about my video after it happened. I was there. And what happened was that I was sitting down, and well, by the way, the East Bay Express wrote an account of that, which I thought was completely, and I know Chris DeBenedetti, but I was calling him out. I thought it was really dishonest. And it's a further example of how the East Bay Express insists on, and maybe it's not Chris's fault, maybe it's gotta be the editors and those guys. They're complete racism, particularly toward me. And it is racism. It's going on for a long time, like 20 years. But they pointed out the incident that I'm talking about, but everybody knows I was there, who actually paid attention to it, including DeBenedetti. So I was there. With Mark Davis and Dan Ventrelli stepped forward. Oh, and by the way, the Express got it wrong. There was nobody from the New York Times that was there. Okay? No. Right. All right. Oh. Okay, Thomas, you're talking about, okay, 2 years ago. Get it. All right. I can't speak to that one. I can see Mark way up to Grizz, trying to shake his hand. Grizz was pretty exercised about it. And John Mark says, meeting at the Amalia headquarters. I think Thomas is talking about the training camp meeting, right? In Napa, right? at the owners' meeting. Well, no, Thomas, there was no they that gave me the cold shoulder at the owners' meeting. There was only a he. I have no problems with anybody else, not even other Raider people. Will Kiss is great to me. Reggie McKenzie's great to me. John Gruden's really great to me. It's just Mark. So don't get this idea that, oh, they're all not talking to Zenny. It's just one dude. It's him, okay? Nobody else. Nobody else. So, and I like that they're acting like adults, That's fine. But what bothers me in particular is that I'm more of a national NFL person than just the Raiders. I bring out my bases in Oakland, but I prefer to roam. Go to here and there, right? My focus has always been the draft, and the draft covers the NFL, not just the team. I never wanted to be a Raiders beat writer, and I will tell you that if you want to see an example of why media is dying in terms of economics with respect to sports, if you ever have an opportunity to just peer into a press box in an NFL game, you'll see writers sitting there tweeting. You could be at home doing the same thing, and yet some nut is going to pay a sports writer to be in a press box, to watch a game and be on Twitter. Sometimes pay that person a lot of money. What do they get out of that? Nothing. Because the reason why they don't is because, as evidenced by the way ESPN is suffering in the ratings because they don't know how to use their personalities, the media organizations don't know how to use their personalities. Do you realize that Michael Smith has been gone? Great man. I've known Michael for a long time. He's been gone from ESPN now since St. Patrick's Day and hasn't issued a tweet once. Gone. And so it's there's a quote here I want to get. Sorry about that. Oops, excuse me. What does it say here? It says, Malcontent says, considering, John Mark says, Zenny speaks the truth. Malcontent says, considering that Mark Davis is still trying to increase the value of the franchise, I'd be shocked to see them trade Khalil Mack. I would too. But that stadium, you cannot think of the Raiders without thinking of the stadium expense that they're incurring. They're like this. You have, let me put it this way. With any NFL team, really, let's take NFL moniker off of it. With any sports team, you have two primary sources of revenue. The team and the stadium that the team plays in. Ultimately, you want the team to own its own stadium or have control of its revenue stream, like the Dallas Cowboys, for example, okay? So the team gets a stream of revenue from the stadium, different areas, events, sponsorships primarily, right? And then the team gets its revenue from the NFL revenue share split, the rights fees that it enjoys from the media primarily, okay? So both of these areas go into one pot. Both of these revenue sources go into one pot. There are expenses. You have to pay expenses for stadium operating costs and stadium development, as the Raiders are right now with the development side of it and not the operating cost side. And then they do have an expense at the Coliseum they're looking at, because if they decide to stay there, rent goes up. On the player side, they have expenses like Gruden's contract. They've got Khalil Mack to take care of, other players. I think Derek Carr as well, right? They have, which they've done really, but they have that. Okay. The question is, to what extent the Raiders' stadium expense has increased in such a way that it makes keeping Khalil Mack more problematic from a financial standpoint. Let alone signing a guy like Nnadokum Suh. Remember, Suh didn't even veer his plane over to Oakland. He didn't cancel the meeting just because the Rams wanted to sign. He canceled the meeting undoubtedly because the Raiders couldn't make him the amount of money he wanted to make. Because the Raiders are not capable of doing that with the financial obligations they have placed upon themselves. All right? Pride and purpose speaks the truth. It would take a king's ransom to get him. They can't afford Mack. William on top says Mark Davis is going to have to take a pay cut for Mack. And there's nothing about this deal. Yep. Vegas will pay a king's ransom. Vegas is demanding a king's ransom. Let's not forget, the Raiders have to commit themselves to finding parking spaces, right? That's another cost issue. That's another headache they've got to deal with. So they went from spending next to nothing on stadium developments to suddenly spending what? I think $100 million in Vegas, north of that, and somewhere in there. That impacts the Raiders' bottom line. They don't have Majestic to take on the cost for them. They don't have Las Vegas Sands to take on the cost for them. Oh, and by the way, that $850 million line of credit, it's not $600 million, this has been reported. That $850 million line of credit. And I'll say this, Nevada Independent reported the Bank of America loan is $600 million. It's not. It's $850 million. It's a line of credit. The Raiders have to pay that back with interest. LIBOR. What's LIBOR? LIBOR is London Interbank Rate. Now, which was around 4% last time I checked. Malcolm 10 says, I don't see them filling in that new stadium with 46 events per year. I don't either. But you know what? I do hope they get WWE. Thomas Sanders says, word has it that the Raiders have their parking issue resolved. Word has always had it that they've had their parking issue in Las Vegas resolved, but the Raiders have never told anybody how and how much it's going to cost. So until I get the details, I'm going to say the Raiders have not solved their parking issue. What's the secrecy? What they've done is they've identified properties, but get this, they don't want anybody to know what those properties are. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that there are only so many properties the Raiders can cobble together within a mile of the strip. All you have to do is find those empty properties, pick off the ones closest to the strip and buy those or make bids on those. Next thing you know, there you go. Given the demand for building in Las Vegas right now, that's happening naturally. Okay. And then Dane said it himself. There are some people that are unscrupulous and they're jacking up the prices, and others they want to deal with. But now, even those relationships can change, right? So Tom Sanders says, I hear it's the Bali High site, heard it today. And if it's the Bali High site, though, the question is, what about the federal government? Because you have to remember, Christian Giuliani put out a letter, because it would be in defiance of her. And it said, unless she gave the thumbs up, it said, don't mess with that site because it's in the middle of a court battle. All right? So I really hold out, given the difficulty there, given the federal government, I really hold that out as, you know. And Hennessy asks, has the loan relocation agreement been signed yet? If not, then when will they? All the agreements have been signed. The question is, when does the non-relocation agreement take effect? It takes effect officially when the stadium is occupied. When the certificate of occupancy is finished, click, ding. That is when the non-relocation agreement goes into effect. Not before then. Okay, not before then. John Mark says, go vote for Chris Giuliani. Yeah, vote for Giuliani. So, sorry, Thomas, but the simple fact of the matter is, Bali High it's got a lot of hair on it. You know what I mean? It's not a property that you want to mess with. And think about this, okay? You can't just say, I'm going to use Bali High. It's a golf course. So you've got to pave the thing over and make it for a parking lot, which takes its own development expense. That is a development project in and of itself. I mean, I love it when people just say, well, they've got this site, or they've got that site. But no one thinks through what it means to develop these sites. You can't just do things like the Joker in The Dark Knight, who just would do things, right? Doing things in real life requires an expenditure. That's just fact. Or, as Bill Murray would say in Stripes, that's the fact, Jack. John Mark says, is Bali High site in Vegas the Howard Terminal of the desert? Worse than that. It's not. It's, how would I describe it? Let me see something here. Hold on a second. Trying to, because I wrote Chris, and then Bali High Raiders. I read to you the letter that she sent. It'll make sense, okay? And Oakland Raiders target Bali High Golf Course. Hold on a second. And I would like to read something that has some, accuracy and reliability. Therefore, I have to find what I wrote. Let's see here. That's Pinterest. Nope. GOP tax plan. Nope. Letter. Bali High parking. Letter. I'm gonna find that thingy. Vegas Raiders. Russell Road. Let me try this another way. Scribd. Anyway, the letter that she wrote was a warning, and it said, don't use this site because we're in a court battle with the federal government. That's what it said. It said, don't use that site. So you're gonna turn around and tell me that they're using that site? Okay, Bobo. I would love to see that they're actually gonna go ahead and do that. That would be stupid. I mean, they really would have to have things worked out with the government. Oh, here it is. I found it. Hey, I did something really smart. Okay, Chris Giuliani letter to Las Vegas Stadium Authority talks Raiders deal problems. It's March 1st, 2018, okay? And it says, she apologized for being able to attend. And then she says that other concerns still have to deal with why this site was picked versus several others that had adequate space for parking, ingress and egress, and true economic development. Also, it's at the end of the strip, which doesn't benefit directly other hotel properties and can cause additional congestion and air pollution in the corridor. I hope ticket holders have been surveyed to see if they would walk over 1.5 miles on a pedestrian bridge. Their experience must be taken into consideration. Finally, as to leasing or purchasing other parking locations, my biggest concern is whether the Bali High property is still under consideration as suggested by the co-chair and others. We are being sued by the federal government for the lease, especially since fair market value was ignored and the Bureau of Land Management, Airport, Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, nor the county have benefited from this property. If any lease or purchase were entered into, none of those benefited, but the windfall will go to the leasee who has been sentenced to prison. I urge you not to enter into an agreement, especially since we're involved in a lawsuit. Thank you for your attention to this weighty agenda, and I wish you luck. I will listen to the tape so I can see if answers were given. That was March 1st. All right, Thomas? So, you know, there you are. Now, Malcontent says, Thomas, did they say how much the Raiders are paying for Bali High? I don't expect Thomas to answer because I don't think Thomas knows anything. I think he may be, and I don't mean to be insulting Thomas, but I don't, okay? There are people who have names when they put things out just to get me to say them, right? As if it were news, when in point of fact, there's nothing there at all. It's vapor. I call it, it's vapor speak, right? So, there's nothing there. Nothing. So anyway, so there you go, folks. You're not gonna hear Thomas say, "Oh, yeah," okay. Big Eiffel says the Raiders' new home will be Levi Stadium when the smoke clears. Kevin KD says the Las Vegas Sands. Kevin KD, how you doing? Big Eiffel, how you doing? Lonely on Top, how you doing? John Marks, I know how you're doing. You feel like you're worth $65 million. Got it. And Kevin KD says Big Eightful, our Grillo already predicted that. Yeah. But you see, Thomas Beltran hasn't said anything. Thomas, hey, 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 hey. Where'd I get that from? Watching too many Instagram posts. Not of me. Anyway. Not of me. Not of me. Hey, did anybody check out Mark Zuckerberg before the U.S. Senate? I did. I thought it was a virtuoso performance. A first in tech. John Mark says, Thomas Saunders, where are you? I told you he's not showing up. John Santos says, I did. Me too. Leon Top says, Las Vegas deserves. He's got a nickname for everything. But yeah, I told you he's not going to show up, okay? Thomas Saunders is not going to respond. He is not who he says he is. He just isn't. I don't mean to be insulting. I'm just being honest. Look at those guys hanging out there. It's like, God dog with that Zenny. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kevin KD says he kept admitting that 5 years was all the Raiders could manage in Vegas. Well, you know, I got to look at that part of the video again. Dell Jr. says, is Mack ready? Really worth $65 million? I still want Mack back at linebacker. His career would last longer. Hey, you know what I think Thomas Beltran might be doing? He might be ginning up another type of account, and then it's going to come back as somebody else and say, hey, I know about the Bali High thing, and here's Thomas. Thomas says, here I am, just stating what I heard. Gotcha. Yeah, but Thomas, give us some detail. Who did you hear it from? What did you hear? Because what I know is that thing's in the middle of a lawsuit. Okay? Bingo. So this group is going to unmercifully criticize you unless, of course, you can give us some real details. Like, where did you hear this and from who? You know, you could say things like, it was from a highly placed, right? You know, you could say it was, give us some background, give us something, right? Who told you this? Steve Sisolak? Just wondering. Kevin KD says, like he was foreshadowing the end result. Yeah. So anyway, John Mark says, laugh out loud, right? Thomas Saunders related to the Colonel Sanders? No, don't get personal. Don't get personal. Don't get... Uber. Now, Uber put out one that's funny. He says, maybe he heard it from his Uber driver. John Santos says, I heard it from Frank at Subway, like that. Kevin KD says, Gulo, Big April. Albert says, this is hilarious. Okay, sorry, Thomas, but you stepped right in it, man. You should have known that was coming. Kevin KD says, the Raiders economic guy for the Vegas project. Oh, I mean, you can make fun of what a person says, but don't make fun of them. There's a big difference. You know, Thomas Beltran sounds like a great guy. You know, it's just that this one particular little thing is like, ha, 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 come on, ha, 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 right? So he's just saying, okay, but again, where did you hear it? Did you hear it from an Uber person? And we don't mean super either. Kevin KD says, and Jen Giuliani was about to grab her shotgun to stop the Raiders from ditching Vegas at the altar. Yeah. No, it's real. I want to get the real story behind this, because my feeling is that there's a lot of hard feelings between the Raiders and other people about how this was handled. Oh, Big April says, who's Jeremy Arguello? Jeremy Arguello is the principal and analyst, founding principal and analyst of Applied Analysis. It is an economics consulting firm in Las Vegas. So until he got involved with this, he was doing economic consulting work for clients, and he was a go-to guy for commentary on the changing Las Vegas economy. That's Jeremy. And I might add, he's done a great job at it. I don't want to take that away from him. I think that would be a horrible thing to do. Horrible. But that is who Jeremy Arguello is. And hey, well, John Mark says, tell us your source, Thomas Saunders. You don't have to tell us your source. Just give us some background. I mean, where were you? Were you at that cool piano bar at Paris, Las Vegas? We have the dueling pianos when you overheard this from, you know, some drunk lady. I mean, because normally you say, well, it's from a high-placed city hall source, right? Or it's not just what you heard. It could have been on the radio that you heard this from an old Sirius satellite radio discussion that happened months ago. Malcontent says, Thomas, if you mean the article on casino.org, ooh, wait a minute. Malcontent has something. He says, he goes, I think Malcontent, who's a great internet researcher, may have found something. He said, Thomas Beltran, if you mean the article at casino.org, there's absolutely nothing there. Las Vegas Raiders stadium targets Bali High Golf Club for 14,000 space parking lot, but impediments abound. Yeah, I read that. I saw that too. There's nothing there. There's nothing there at all. 32 Assassin says, getting a White Castle suitcase with Harold and Kumar. I like that. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. I love White Castle. Kevin KD says, all of Clark County is acting like they have a tightening noose around their neck instead of a blessing with the Raiders coming into town. John Santos says, saw the article, Alameda is going to sell shares to City of Oakland. That is not finalized. It's still up in the air, but see, the city has to commit its funds to buy it. Now, what complicates that deal is the A's proposal. So basically the way it works on the surface, if the mayor gets her way, the A's will essentially be buying the Coliseum from the City of Oakland. All right? Or she may, if the A's just buy the Coliseum outright, it's kind of like, whatever, right? It's a great idea, but then if they buy it, there's got to be some assurances. Big April says, the Raiders need Oakland. Thomas Saunders says, no malcontent, I'm telling you, they're selling their PSLs with that Bali High site. Oh, this is getting crazy. They're selling their PSLs with that Bali High site as part of the package. Okay. Oh. Big Able says, Kev, I'm hip. John Mark says, that's so stupid. Thomas, you went from bad to worse, man. Just oh, God. Albert says, I was trying to get a job at the Coliseum. Oh, what did you want to do, Albert? John Mark's like shaking my head. Malkinson says, Thomas, they cannot sell something they don't own. That's right, they can't. 32 Assassin says, Mark Davis become a bigger fish in a small pond in Vegas instead of a laughing stock in the Bay. You know, had he played his cards right, Mark Davis would have been a big fish in a big pond in the Bay Area. He just didn't play his cards right, okay? Now, I don't know, I'm getting that feeling again that this deal is still not over. It's just, nothing is still not over. It has this consistent feeling of imminent collapse. It just does. Oh, hey, class action lawsuit against Facebook. Ooh, my gosh. You know about that. John Mark says, Mark Davis is still a laughing stock no matter where he goes. He's not a laughing stock to me, all right? And I don't laugh at him at all. I disagree with what he does. In this instance, I don't disagree with how he builds a team. Now, I have that right. And undoubtedly there are people who are trying to career up to Mark Davis who say, oh, Zenny makes fun of you and all that. Anybody who says that is a bald-faced liar who ought to be kicked in the ass. You hear what I'm saying? Straight away. Because I have always had the utmost respect for Mark Davis, even though he hasn't treated me with that same respect. So, okay, hasn't. I am entitled to my opinion. I am not going to be a yes person for anybody who does not give me the proper respect. I mean, you know, that's just the way that goes. Absolutely. Albert wants stationary engineering. You still looking? If you 32 Assassin, strong principles. Z, thanks. Kevin KD says, I don't mind the haircut. Just stay in Oakland, dude. Yep. Thomas Saunders says, the PSLs. What? Thomas says, Thomas, I'm not going to repeat what you wrote because that's stupid. Okay? Forget it. You now officially like, no, dude. I'm not even going to, whatever you post now on, you know what? I'm not even going to bother to. That's hilarious. John Sadler says, don't you think the NFL would be interested in the Oakland site for future expansion? Yeah. Hey, moderators, do what you wish with respect to Mr. Saunders. I'm not going to call that one. That's up to you. Thomas, you're pissing off the moderators, so hey, whatever they do is whatever they do. I got no say in the matter. And I think you've just been hidden by John Marks. Sorry, Thomas. But you had to know that was coming. Now for those of you, Malcolmton says, Thomas, that's ridiculous. Saying something doesn't make it so. But that's how it is. I mean, you know, in an odd sort of way, it shows respect. It shows admiration for the channel that someone needs to come here and try to spin something a certain way, right? You know? Thanks for the compliment. Backhanded though it is, you know, I accept it. Kevin KD says, if they wanted to make a team in Vegas, then why not expand? Joseph Binsman says, hey guys. Hey Joseph, how you doing? He says, how's it going? Zuckerberg was pretty uncomfortable today, laugh out loud, but held up well. You know, one thing that Mark Zuckerberg has, hold on a second, let me get this. Big April says, Kev, the NFL is lazy. Kevin KD says, why fleece Oakland, a storied franchise, to put it in Vegas, then turn around and tell Oakland to start all over with expansion? Because they owe us. Because we're a richer market than Vegas is. Because, well, gosh, you got an hour? I mean, there are a lot of reasons. John Mark says, Zinni, what are your thoughts on the Alliance? I still haven't looked at the Alliance of American Football starting in February of 2019. In fact, you know what? Let me look at it right now. The Alliance of American Football. And I'll give you my first bird's eye take. How's that? Alliance of American Football. Hold on. Okay. Alliance of American Football. Rick Neuheisel's a potential candidate. I know Rick. I like Rick. Steve Spurrier wants it. Really? Here is it's at AFF.com. Countdown to season start. 304 days, 18 hours, 8 minutes, and 12 seconds. Home. This is a nice website. I like this. Let's see who their team is. Executives. Charlie Ebersol. Charlie Ebersol's father was none other than Dick Ebersol of NBC, who created the XFL. So you have Charlie Ebersol, who's the CEO and the co-founder, and then you have Bill Polian, who's the head of football and the co-founder, and then you've got Troy Polamalu, who's the head of player relations. Great for him. You've got J.K. McKay, who's the head of football operations. You have Tom Veit, who's the head of business operations. Hines Ward, who's a player relations executive. And you have Jared Allen, formerly of the Vikings defensive end, who is a player relations executive. Then the board of directors, you have the late Dick Ebersol, and Keith Raboy. Player engagement board of advisors is one person, Justin Tuck. Copyright 2018, Legendary Field Exhibitions, LLC, all rights reserved. All right, so those are the people that are involved. No women, all men. Shame. They should have brought Amy Trask, right? They should have brought in, wow, any number of Raider of female football execs. Stephanie, my gosh, there's thinking of my friend who was the director of communications for Super Bowl 50, who was kind enough to name me in her book, her book is called Big Game, Bigger Impact by Stephanie Martin. They should have had Stephanie Martin involved. They could have called WISE, Women in Sports and Events. WISE has a ton of really qualified women who could have been a part for the Alliance of American Football. Boo! Okay, glad they got the brothers involved, but come on, you know what I'm saying? Man, all right, now, they have job openings. Work with us. Join the Alliance. We're building technology that changes the way fans consume and interact with sports and television, starting with the Alliance of American Football, a professional football league that works in partnership with fans and players. We're building a digital technology team to build streaming video systems, data, mobile, desktop, and over-the-counter, over-the-top apps that integrate the best of TV with the best of the internet. We're building a broadcast team that thinks about new ways to innovate around how to tell the story of a live sporting event. And it says, join the digital team. More tech jobs. Yeah. You click on that. They have needs. They're based in San Francisco, by the way. Ooh, my backyard. They need a back-end engineer full-time. They need a client engineer who knows Unity for gaming. They need develop ops, an IT manager, a mobile engineer, and a web developer. For operations, they need a principal/lead recruiter, and they need a project manager. Product full-time. It says the project manager, product manager. The fans, the players, the game is formed, the alliance. It says, what if you could stream live games on your own? The product manager will carry out the product vision and execution of the digital team. With a dynamic engineering product team, you have the experience to deliver a product to millions of users before February 2019. You enjoy being part of a high-performing team that gives you ownership and autonomy. You have strong interest in sports and reinventing the way fans interact. So there's a number of cool jobs here, but this is what? April 11th. Clock's ticking, right? The clock is ticking. So those are they've got principal, lead recruiter. What else do they have? Web developer. What else do they have? Filter by city. They've got the only jobs they have open are in San Francisco. That's it. For the team, they don't have. You can either go in engineering, operations, or product. Product manager sounds like the CEO. What if football didn't have to end in February for the 19.3 million Americans that watch each week? What if we brought together the most respected minds in the game to rethink football? What if we brought football into the 21st century? I like that. I gotta admit, that's compelling. You're asking me what I think? I think the overall aim is really compelling. I like that. You know, I like that. I really do. I like that. So what else is here? Join the Alliance. Work with us. It says join the Alliance. You have the digital team, you have the football operations team. See jobs there. And the job categories, they've got accounting and finance, administration, marketing jobs, sponsorship, sales and activation, ticket sales and service jobs, web and creative services jobs, all right? That's handled by Teamwork Online, the great sports jobs website and business started by my friend of a long time, Buffy Philippel. So they got the right person helping them there. So those are, oh, and then, let's see, those are the digital team jobs, as I mentioned. And they've got the football operations, and they have the broadcast team. So you can join the broadcast team. The broadcast team will be staffing up closer to the start of the season. Check back for jobs for the broadcast team listings in the fall. Interesting. Very interesting. So like I said, you got accounting and finance jobs. What do they have here? Future notification. Oh, that's a future notification. Team positions. Marketing jobs. So all these football operations jobs have to be filled in with the teams themselves. So they haven't, according to this, formed the teams. And it says contact us. Okay. So from what I've seen, okay, fine. This website doesn't show me much. It looks like they're building something, but I don't know what they're building. I don't know. And this is countdown the season start, right? We got the countdown the season start. The Alliance is coming to Orlando. It says find out more. Okay, fine. But where else? I want to be a fan. I want to be a player. Our announcement, press coverage. The reason why, this is okay. I think where the players and teams are located is a big deal because that dictates how the league is laid out, dictates your costs. For example, are you going to have it? When I built my game, the XFL SimWorld game, you had options. You could have a Sun Belt strategy where all your teams are only in the Sun Belt, in which case you didn't have to worry about snow and maintenance problems that you incurred, if you had a spring team and then of course you got a nor'easter you're dealing with, right? You just had Sun Belt. And then players, are you going to get has-beens, people who have names but they're not playing anymore? Are you going to get college stars? High school stars headed to college? How are you going to do that? So all of that lays out your cost structure. But because they're players, it also, in a sense, has an impact on your revenue stream, all right? I don't want to go on too long about it, but as you can see, I developed a game called the XFL SimWorld. And what it did was it asked you to make the right decisions that caused NBC in the game to give you $600 million and to then go on to the next year. In reality, the XFL lasted 1 year. So your objective in my game is to make the right decision so that it lives on beyond that 1 year. Okay. Malcontent says, oh, you guys are talking about something here. Let's see here. Big Apple says there are no kickoffs, and after touchdowns you have to go for 2. Doesn't that sound like the first XFL? It does. But see, I'm less interested in the game, and I'm more interested in the league structure and the costs that it gives rise to. Because without a proper financial model, the thing can't work. It just can't. Malcontent says, Kevin KD, well, if Mark Davis' goal is just increase franchise value and then sell it, he may just get there. I sincerely doubt it, though. Kevin KD says the Chargers, the Browns, the Bengals, the Chargers had a better season than those other 2 teams. John Mark says, I wonder the A's will allow the AFF to play at the Oakland Coliseum. You know what? I'm going to have some fun with this. Hey, John Marks, bring back Thomas Beltran. I feel bad. Unhide Thomas. Unleash the Kraken. I miss the Kraken. Unleash the Kraken, please. John Mark says, I think the AFF will succeed. I have no idea. Thomas Benson says, this is going to be a fun NFL draft. That's all I know. I only know I'm not going to be able to be there. So, sadly, but I'm going to figure out another way to cover the draft. But for the moment, let's see here. I'm going back over. Joseph Benjamin says, I don't think that's the way to go, especially with a CTE situation. But I do believe St. Louis, San Diego, and Oakland deserve football teams, maybe if we cut down the preseason, which has been discussed for some time, all right? So anyway, unleash the Kraken. Did you unleash the Kraken? Malcontent says, yeah, Thomas, I would say welcome back from, say Thomas, welcome back from purgatory. Purgatory. Thank you, Mr. Marks. Welcome back from purgatory. Persis on Joseph Bismuth says, Persis on standby. Oh, too much fun. Let this be a lesson to you, young man. When you come here and you dare tell us that something happened, bring some frickin' detail to it, will ya? Otherwise, we'll put you into purgatory for some particular amount of time. Bay2 Assassin, did he get my fries? I don't know. Oh. Thomas equals Lazarus. That's hilarious. Hey, by the way, don't know if anybody follows Star Trek, but Anson Mount will be Christopher Pike. The Enterprise. And this Friday, the 13th, we have Lost in Space. Joseph Business says, Trump contemplating firing Rosenstein. Watch out. If he fires Rosenstein, man, it's already the beginning of the end. It's gonna go from like this to this. It's gonna go like from this to that. And then if he goes to the next step with Mueller, it's gonna go like that. So I mean, you just forget it, man. Just don't take the country with you, all right? Please. M.L. Scott, how are you doing, my friend? How are you? How are you? Folks, it's 2:05, and I think, are you doing better? You were sick too? I'm gonna have to go soon because I just want to go back and check on my mom. But she's doing better. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just have to say that straight up. Straight away. There you are. Straight away, okay? Just gotta say that. John Mark says, I hope your mom's doing great. She's not doing great, but she's doing better than she was certainly last week, okay? Certainly last week. So that's the main thing, all right? So I think what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to cut this one short. I was going to go to until 2:30, but my sixth sense is telling me I better go back and check on her now. ML, oh God, recovering from torn Achilles. Oh my gosh. I will endeavor to be on earlier tomorrow. And maybe Thomas Beltran can give us some interesting data. In fact, you know what though? Out of this is so funny. I just want to see something here. I'm going to Twitter and I'm typing Bali High Golf. See what comes up. And Bali High Golf Vegas then Devils. That's March 14th. That's the top tweet. And then this one is Travelers Arena have a round of golf at the Bali High Golf Club, the only championship course on the Strip. And Bali High in Vegas and Dolphin. That was April 4th. We're sponsoring the April Boma and the Bottle Lunch at Cliff Restaurant at the Bali High Golf Club. I see nothing mentioning the Raiders. Sorry. Nothing. March 22nd. Nope. The back nine. I mean, let me tell you, let me show you rather, not tell you. This is what the Bali High Golf Course looks like. See that? So if the Raiders take all that over, they've got, unless they're going to make a parking lot on the golf course, they've got to redevelop all that stuff. It's no small task. That takes money. But also, it's under a lawsuit by the federal government, and the guy who owns it is in prison. And I don't know what the law is about with respect to selling a property that is under a lawsuit by the federal government and owned by a guy who's already in prison by the same federal government, if I'm not mistaken. Yikes. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense there. So, because he's not supposed to, see, here's, you would say, why is, let me explain, all right? The reason why this lawsuit exists is because the federal government contends that when the land was turned over to Clark County was supposed to develop it to its market value. Instead, they sold it to Bill Walters for less than its market value, far less, and he hasn't done anything that caused it to achieve its market value. So, why would there be allowed, if that's the case, a sale to the Raiders? You would say, well, because it brings it up to market value, all right? But then the person who got the property, because the way the ownership is designed, is also in jail by the federal government. So it makes it dicey, all right? It just makes it dicey, okay? But I don't see anything here pointing to, hey, the NFLPA had its convention there. That was on March 13th. I see nothing pointing to the Raiders of late. In fact, on Twitter, which is the best place to find out, you know, immediate news, right? And it says the last information was, what, January 11th. Raider President Mark Bedane confirms parking talks for Bali High Golf Club. There's been some progress on it. When we have something to announce on it, we will, but it's one of a number of options that can help solve some of the parking issues associated with the site. And then there's the impediments issue, and that was January 6th. So, yeah. So basically what we're talking about, if you're not familiar with this, that's Bali High, okay? That's the Raiders' property. See that? Okay? But you have to, by Clark County law, you have to redevelop all this. You can't just buy it. You have to buy it, and you have to convert it into parking. All right, that's the rub. And then, of course, there's the fact that it's in the middle of a lawsuit known by, you know, Mr. Walters is imprisoned by the same federal government. So that's what's going on. Now, let me see if, okay. That's the latest. There's nothing, there's no update since January 11th. There's nothing. Nothing. In fact, there's a guy asking on March 29th, any update on paving over Bali High Golf Course for the Raiders parking? And the Raiders would have to do that. Clark County is not going to spend money for them, all right? Okay, folks, you can bet your last money it's all going to be a stone gas on here. It's been that. I'm going to sign off right now. Woof Woof says, Chris G spoke out at Spadium meeting saying do not negotiate, right? And then Woof Woof says, Jim Giuliani would be a great devil's advocate to make sure the stadium project is going to be honest and fair. I agree. John Mark says, watch horror films, keep America strong. All right. See you all, guys. Thank you very, very much. Remember, CCIG Tiger Rugby in Scotland now for the Scotland Sevens. All right, see you guys. All right, see ya.